A little bit about Casaplex. We are a systems integration company based out of Maryland, and security and surveillance are one of the many systems that we install. And today's event is around security and surveillance due to the fact that we see a big need today for advanced security solutions. AI is here. It's part of the integrated system. So we're here today to talk more about that and focus on that specific subsystem. But as a whole, Casaplex integrates a multitude of different systems. Everything from motorized shades to lighting control to audiovisual systems, temperature control, et cetera. And all those systems, when working together, can create an incredible holistic system that is better than the sum of its parts. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind. We're going to start doing these events more and more, focusing on specific subsystems, but I just want everyone to realize that security is not all we do. It's one of the many systems that we put together in a solution we call it System One, which is a integrated system of systems, if you will. So this event is one of our first security and surveillance events, so welcome. We're going to probably have this at least twice a year. And today we're going to have a panel with an ex-colleague of ours and now works for another company in the security world, JP Reich. JP has a long history here. I'll toot his horn a little bit. When he left Casaplex, he came to Axis actually, and he helped put this space together. So he helped put this entire experience center together, which was then replicated throughout the world. I think there's about 17 of them around the world now. And this was one of the first. I don't know how many were there when JP started here, but JP's here to be on the panel today. We're going to have a little discussion about the future of security and surveillance for those of you who may not be as informed. So our relationship with Axis started probably around 23 years ago, right when we started the company. We were looking for a top-tier provider of security and surveillance. And when doing the research, we found out that the inventor of the IP camera was actually Axis Communications. And so we said, well, if they invented it, they've got to be pretty good at it. So we started learning more and more about the way they do work and their philosophy, their core values, their vision, et cetera. It really aligned with ours, and so we decided to become partners with them. So, and we've had a very successful and incredible journey with them. So.
And also through membership of Swedish American Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
That is true. Yep. Thank you, Eric. We also we are members of the Swedish American Chamber of Commerce. So anybody interested in doing business with Sweden should join that organization for sure. And Eric, who put this event together, is actually one of our interns from Sweden, from Chalmers University, which is one of the top universities in engineering in Sweden. So very proud to have him. He's one of, I think there's been about 7 or 8 interns that have come through. We have another intern starting, I think, 2 days before he leaves. So really excited about that. And so it's the relationship with Axis and Sweden and all the interns really is a full circle kind of relationship, and it's been great. So, and there's probably a reason also why Eric picked the Axis Experience Center to have the event than some other place. It might be that Swedish connection. I'm not sure. So, last thing I'm going to talk about is drones. One of our partners that does drone detection systems was not able to make it today. They actually got a contract with the Tokyo Dome. So they're out in Tokyo implementing a drone detection system. They were going to focus on residential drone detection, but their system was so great that they ended up going, in some cases, to commercial instances. So they're not here. They're called gargoyle systems. But that is something that we are getting into that's part of the future of security. With Amazon and Walmart starting to deliver packages via drone. You'll start to see drones coming to your neighborhood very soon. And there's going to be a lot of concern about what drones are in the neighborhood. Are they nefarious or not? Are they supposed to be there, et cetera? So we're keen on that. We've been working with them for the past year and a half to help them develop their product, get it to market. And they have Generation 2 already coming out. And they haven't even been able to give us a Generation 1 unit yet because it was in such high demand. So we're excited about that relationship as well, and that's going to be part of the whole ecosystem. But there are a lot of neat technologies that Axis has that can help with that as well.
Appreciate it. We're very happy to host our great partner Casaplex here today, and excited to just talk about some industry trends and show you some of the latest technology here at the Experience Center. We want to emphasize that This is an open space for anyone here that wants to visit. You're more than welcome. I mean, this is a place not only for our partners at Casaplex, but anyone in the industry who's interested in security and wants to learn about cutting edge technology and the latest and greatest that we have to offer. This is an open space. So just want to give that reminder there. So this is going to be quick, but as an agenda, I'm going to just give an overview of Axis, talk about our products and solutions, the future of security, which is what we see as analytics, and Derek mentioned it, but AI is a big part of that, and then next steps. So before going into Axis, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Adam Natal. I'm a regional sales manager here out of the DMV area. Been in the security industry going on 8 years this summer. Just hit my 1-year anniversary at Axis. But I am the dedicated representative for Casaplex, so I work with them directly on a daily, weekly basis. So it's a pleasure to be here. But Axis has a glance. We're the #1 industry leader in video surveillance, and we were founded in Lund, Sweden in 1984. So we've been around a little while, but it wasn't until 1996 that we invented the very first IP camera. So the very first network camera was invented by our founders. And actually, funny enough, it was for Steve Wozniak in his server room to monitor his LED lights to make sure they weren't overheating. So that was the very first use case, and then it just really evolved from there, and eventually now completely overtook the whole legacy analog video world. So as I mentioned, we have a focus on network solutions. Pretty much all these devices, or all of these devices in this room, are network based, so they're going to be IP connections. And at this point now, we've surpassed the $1 billion mark. This is what we did in revenue. This was 2023, so I think that's grown about 20% or so over the past couple years in addition to that. So been a profitable company over the years. In 2015, we became part of the Canon group. So Canon acquired Axis Communications back then, but we still operate completely independently as our own organization. Canon's kind of there for a little bit of oversight, some legal assistance, maybe some help with some lenses and glass, things like that, but we're pretty independent otherwise. Also in 2016, we acquired 2N. So 2N is something we actually work with Casaplex a lot with, and they focus on intercoms and access control, a lot of the high-rise multifamily all the way down to single-family residential homes with 2N. And then the UN Global Compact just speaks to our commitment to sustainability, and then ISO IEC is more of a cybersecurity standard that we abide by. And so anything that you see here in this room, going into the field, that can't be accomplished or put in without the help of our ecosystem partners. So having those partners is a huge part of what we do, and that's how we're able to deliver a solution to an end user. And so we use this 2-tier business model. At Axis, we do not sell direct. It goes through a distributor to a system integrator like Casaplex, and then from there to the end customer. So we rely on our partners. We could not do it without them. And just speaking to our offering a little bit, we have our products and solutions, which you'll see here today. But in addition to that, we have additional services. So training here, you'll see the academy room downstairs where we have classes occasionally. Professional services, there's tools on our website. We have a very expansive website which goes into detail on every single product in our portfolio. And I would argue, in addition to that, in the services, is you do have access to our team. People like Quentin here, who's on our sales engineering department, myself, and just the ecosystem of kind of experts that we have at our disposal, whether they're in Lund, Sweden, or they're here locally who specialize in certain products. You have access to that when you're using any type of Axis product. And then in addition to that, there's added benefits, sustainability, cybersecurity, just the quality of the equipment, innovation, which you'll see here today. And so as we've kind of discussed, we're known for our network cameras, and subsequently now we've also been known for our analytics associated with our cameras, but that's not all that we do now. So access control, network intercoms, network audio is huge for us now. Wearables, we have our own VMS now, our own video management software, recorders, things like radar devices and accessories. So it goes beyond just network video now. And what we see as the future of security is analytics and the AI that helps drive those analytics. And so there's over 1 billion surveillance devices in the world now, and our question is, what can we do with all that data? What we try to do is ask our customers, what are your needs? So when we asked our customers, these are some of the things that we're hearing that they need out of analytics. Number one is alarm accuracy, so enabling fast action and event-based recording. So if someone crosses this line, if this person is seen in this room, or if it reaches a maximum capacity, we want to know about it and we want to record based on that. And so we'll show that today. Efficient search in live and recorded video, automated alerts, enabling proactive action. I think this is one of the biggest things with analytics is rather than waiting till after a crime and then forensically looking back, now you can trigger that camera to say when someone walks by after hours, have that speaker play an announcement and say you're on unauthorized property and you need to leave. And then in addition to that, aside from just crime prevention and forensic detail, is operational efficiency. So getting insights that can actually help your business. How many people have walked in front of my store today? Are people in front of a certain area of my home or of my store and I want to play a certain message based on where they're standing? Those are things now that have become possible with these network devices. And then just trends in general. We've already mentioned it a couple times, but artificial intelligence, AI, again, the increased processing power at the edge that enables the devices to utilize the AI for the analytics. And then now we're seeing more and more hybrid architectures, so cloud-based systems as well as on-prem, more server-based systems that can now be connected in the cloud is becoming a lot more popular and what we've heard as a big demand from customers. And then open metadata. So these, especially the cameras, can take in metadata so that you can search based on when was someone here in a blue shirt and brown pants? When was a red car in the area? Or I want to search based on this license plate. The cameras are taking that in and it's becoming a searchable function. And so lastly here, just to wrap it up, I just wanted to show our suite of solutions when it comes to analytics, because I know that's going to be a topic of the day. So object analytics, this is one that our clients use just probably on a day-to-day basis, probably use the most. I know the Casaplex team is very familiar with that. Detects motion, detects loitering, detects humans and vehicles. How many people are in the area? Do we want to, create an action based on how many people are here? So things like that with object analytics. Again, the scene metadata, taking in information. Even now, you can do a large language model search where you want to know when there was a delivery at the door, or tell me anytime there was a dog in front of this camera. You can now do that. Image health analytics can show or it can report on if a camera was blurred, if it was blocked, if the scene was being obstructed. It can also report on that now. Some of the more analytics based on selected devices are going to be perimeter defender, license plate verifier. Basically, think of license plate detection for this, creates a log of that in the system. Perimeter defender is more for like the perimeter of a property or of a home. Typically, it's used with thermal cameras. So if they cross a certain line or a threshold, then you can report on that. Audio analytics is big now. This is baked in now to the cameras even. So there's acoustic sensors built into cameras now that can say, hey, there was a glass break detected here. Someone was shouting or screaming, or there was a coughing fit in this area. The cameras can report on that. And then lastly, Live Privacy Shield. This is one that you can actively do pretty much a live redaction of a human if the human should be kept private, or you can blur the background so the background is blurred and it's only showing movement in the scene as non-blurred image. So just wanted to go over some of those analytics at the bottom here. These are some of the more legacy analytics, and these are the more advanced ones up top. So that's what I have. I appreciate it. And thanks again, Casaplex, for hosting the event.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you provide a 360-degree protection in a home without making it feel like a fortress, basically, where you're watched all the time?
Well, there's two ways to look at this, I'd say. Depending on the type of property and what the priorities are. Some people in the residential space are concerned about aesthetics. So you want to get a 360-degree view of the property, but you don't want to actually make it look like it's a fortress. So you have to hide the cameras and come up with custom installation that makes it a little bit more appealing. That being said, certain clients want it to look very daunting, so they want it to look just like this experience center, cameras everywhere, so that anyone that walks on the estate knows that they're being watched and they behave. And the second part of it is what's actually the layer before the house. So what gates kind of bring you into the property, making sure you're covering the perimeter of the space as opposed to the house itself. And a lot of people want privacy in their home, so they don't want cameras aimed at the house. There are features that Axis has that allow you to blur out people's faces and block out certain areas of the image. So there's those aspects as well that the technology helps us to do. So. All right.
And I'm going to go over to JP.
Yeah,
So,
let me add a little bit on that though. So when we look at security in a residence, we try to look at it as a layered approach, like Derek said. So you look at the gates. Well, if you look at a lot of the buildings that we're protecting in Washington, D.C., you see a big fence around it, you see these big gates, you see security, you see people. It's not just always about tech, but it's how you integrate and you touch that tech from a personal side. So how are you using that? What alerts are you getting from that technology? So when we look at the layered approach, it's, we have thermals, there's radars, there's cameras, and you have privacy in a home as well. How are you layering that? I always like to tell my customers, it's like a cake. How are we layering that cake? What ingredients are we putting in? What are we mixing together? And what are they seeing it on the other side? But also, too, when you're using that, how do we set those alarms off? Because, if I get a bunch of alarms on my phone all day, what am I going to do? What do we all do? We ignore them. And then the next piece that we always do is like, look at this over here. We have these lights that come on as well. Maybe we make that security visible. So if they do see an intrusion, hey, let's get ahead of it. And we're using the tech to say, hey, let's get the lights, let's get the sirens or what we need on during certain hours of night so you can deter those adversaries that are coming into our space. That's what gets forgotten a lot is we always think about like the aftermath. We always go back and watch video and do the scrolling wheel of death. Or now we can use analytics to look for people, detections, everything else. How do we get ahead of it and deter that?
So can I just add to that? So having the experience, also the government and commercial experience that you have, what can you take from that into the residential space? Do you see the same kind of synergies there?
100%. Yeah. And that's the game now is we want to make sure it's, when you look at it from a family perspective, you don't want it to be intrusive on your everyday lives. You want it to be touchless. You want it to be, you want to sit there and say, I've got all this tech around me. I want it to be like seamless to me. So when you're going into a commercial space or even your residence, and I approach my residents, I want it to be touchless, I want it to be seamless, I don't want to be fumbling. We've all carried grocery bags. We can't get in. I have my face now. Maybe I'm using my face to enter a space. Maybe I'm using my voice to enter my space. They're using that now in detention centers. But using the new technology that's out there to do that, to make it seamless. It's not just about, we always think about it from our side of the house as tech people, but think about how the family's using that space. And when you're going into that space, how does it, less obtrusive overall?
So I know Derek already touched a bit on it, but I would like to have Quinton's view on the privacy shield, for example, so how we can see that being used in homes, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Axis has a few different technologies to enable more privacy on our cameras. We have Axis Live Privacy Shield, which is a AI-based technology that we have in our cameras to enable privacy of your face and or your whole person. That can also work in inverse. We can blur out the whole scene and also see the people. So maybe if you have a location, maybe not for residential, maybe you have a money room. You don't want to see all the money that's in the room. You don't want to see the safe. You don't want to see the cash drawers. You don't want to see the stacks of bills that are being distributed between the cash drawers, but you can still see the people. The inverse of that may be for more residential. You can see the whole resident, but you can't see the people walking through the residence because you can either blur them out, you can pixelate them with various size pixels, or you can color block them out so you can't see any resemblance of the person at all. Those are technologies that are enabled in the camera for the AI-based technology. We also have privacy masks where we can permanently block out a field of view. So for instance, if you have a camera that's looking across your yard, but you can also see your neighbor's yard, you can totally block out your neighbor's yard to give them peace of mind.
I just have a little follow-up question on that then. So if you're blocking out the view and let's say something happens in that blocked out area, will you still be able to see that afterwards? Is that still like being recorded?
Yeah, so we do have the ability to record multiple streams from our cameras. So maybe you can have one stream from that camera has Privacy Shield enabled, and maybe some privacy mask enabled, but you can have another stream that's more secure that you need admin privileges to log into. So if you have an incident, you can use those admin privileges to log in and get the actual full frame video. That's also useful for investigations if that's needed. But also in the investigation, where you do retrieve that whole video, we also have a technology called video redaction. So you can go out and maybe redact out the bystanders in the video, maybe the kids that are in that scene where something bad happened. You don't have the other people in that video that had no related, didn't have anything to do with the crime or the incident as well. So we have a few different technologies that are very useful for that process.
Let me add one more layer to that.
Yeah.
So now he's protect the visual side of this, right, from seeing in. What's the next piece we all have to layer onto that as well? Audio. So you want to talk about audio a little bit too?
Yeah, I was going to save it for later, but thank you. Yeah, so that's a great segue into the metadata that Adam talked about earlier when we talked about the type of technology we have in our camera. We're multimodal for AI these days. We do visual based AI and analytics, so we can tell if it's a person, vehicle, a dog, or any type of other type of objects that we can classify. But we also classify audio. We can read text. We can read LPR data. We can classify text off of airplanes across other different type of media. So those things are incredibly useful if you're doing investigations. You can say, I'm looking for the FedEx truck. There's lots of trucks that have come in my cul-de-sac today, but we're going to show you all the FedEx trucks perhaps only. There's other great use cases, not just for security. I was on a rooftop yesterday servicing a couple of our cameras, and I noticed that we had a wasp nest in some of the cameras. I bet, and I didn't have a chance to do it today, but if I go in and type in our metadata search, look for bees, I might see bees that are swarming in some of our cameras. That could be incredibly useful for your grounds of your customers. You could do a search periodically looking for bees or birds nesting in certain areas of your property. You might want to address that before it becomes a nuisance. So when you go to your deck for the 4th of July cookout, you haven't been in your backyard in 2 weeks in some of these big properties. You don't have a bird's nest to contend with or deal with. You can actually knock that stuff out before you go out there for your celebration. You don't have to deal with that later. So AI is going to be useful for a lot more use cases than just security in the future. Package delivery, when the package gets delivered, you get a notification that the package has been delivered. So it's not sitting out there for 8 hours until you come home from work. You can call home and say, hey, kid, daughter, son, grab that package off the front porch. Don't let this porch pirate get it before we do. perhaps.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Applications for like commercial or higher education, what audio is used for that, when the audio features?
Yeah, so we can do anything like threat detection. Somebody's raising their voice, getting boisterous. That could be a sign of some sort of aggressive behavior that might be coming. So they could alert security. Security comes out to the perimeter to see what's going on. Hopefully deters that from happening. Or even better yet, we can automate a triggered response like JP talked about earlier with our speakers and notification devices like our siren strobes or speaker strobes. So if that loud boisterous activity occurs, that speaker siren that's in the corner over there could just play a message saying, these premises are being monitored or by security 24/7. Just as a customer service message, furthering the possibility to deter that activity from happening in the first place. Yeah.
So there's another layer as well I want to talk about.
Yeah.
What's the other layer I'm thinking of?
Oh, audio, visual, environmental perhaps too. So Axis just came out with environmental sensors, recently. So back to the higher end residential, you have an environment in your home, I'm bad at this. You turn your stove on low and all of a sudden you're done cooking and that you put your pan back on the stove and it's heating up. Well, guess what? That's going to emit a certain type of odor. And our environmental sensor can possibly detect that odor, and changing the environment or the heat level. A lot of homes have smoke detectors, but the environmental sensor can possibly detect some of those vapors before the incident gets large enough for the smoke detector to catch it before the fire happens as well. So anything from a gas leak or different odors or air quality, once that changes, you can be notified as well.
Yeah.
And apply to CO, carbon dioxide.
Yes, sir, exactly as well, absolutely.
Yeah. There's one more layer too. I like.
What is
it?
It's cyber.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talk about all these live privacy shields and everything, all these analytics. Someone's coming into our home, it seems intrusive and everything. Axis is NDAA and TAA compliant. What does that mean? National Defense Authorization Act, meaning, hey, good chips, good quality. We know where they're coming from, not coming from our adversaries. And then TAA, Trade Agreements Act. And that's really critical, not just in the commercial space, but in the residential as well. Because think about the people that are coming in and out of that building every day. They want to know where that technology is coming from. They want to have a trusted partner like Axis and Casaplex doing that install. Think about too the network layer. And I always like to talk about this is unless you have that plumbing in that house that's running and it's everything's draining and everything's working correctly, you have to have all this network infrastructure and everything that you can do. We've done it for years. Yep. I would never install a Crestron system today like I did 15 years ago because of the cyber aspects that we would do it in a completely different manner because it's changed so much. The firmware gets updated from Axis constantly, and that's on purpose because for two reasons. One, for security vulnerabilities. They go through testing all the way. They've been UL certified on the cyber spectrum as well. Same thing too with SOC 2 and all the other compliance regulations that have happened. It's a very changed world from when, like I said, we did this 15 years ago.
And probably about 15 to 20 years ago, if you want to do some homework or research on this, there was something called the Mariah attacks, which was essentially a lot of cameras that were more consumer grade being sold at Home Depot and those types of stores. And they were actually all compromised. So there were hundreds of thousands of cameras around the world that were compromised, turned into a botnet, and then they were actually targeting different people. So they were not only able to access all the video on those cameras, but also they turned those cameras into the enemy, and they started attacking different websites and different facilities. So with Axis, what JP was saying about their chips, they actually make their own chips, which is very rare these days. And they have something in it called Secure Boot. So if you reboot these cameras, they default to their factory state. There's no malware that could be installed on them. And so for that reason, Axis is one of the most secure and kind of best.
What's that chip called?
ART pack.
What's it really stand for?
I have no idea.
Oh my goodness. Has anybody gone to class and learned?
I'm signed up, but
Oh yeah, you'll learn it in class. Access real-time picture encoder chip.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, just to summarize, this technology is trusted by the White House. So
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm guessing that the security standards should be.
which White House?
Yeah.
A couple miles away, and other White Houses around the world.
All right, so that's it for the first segment, and this is an open-ended conversation. So If you have any questions, like feel free to ask them now. We're also going to have like a small Q&A session afterwards, but yeah, just feel free to.
I do. What's that recommendation for folks who high-end individuals who have a lot of parties in their homes, right? And have a lot of guests coming in and out. They want the home to be open, but certain areas.
Are you referring to yourself, Chris?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Or not yet. Not yet. But really, I mean, solutions for folks like that who want to entertain, and that's part of who they are, but they're also wanting to protect their home and their property.
So from all the properties I've worked with over the years and still today, it comes down to process and procedures. You know, you have spaces and things that you want to protect and keep private, you know, but you still want to have a good time. Who doesn't want to have a good time at a party? And there's processes and things that you can do it. So like some of our homes, for example, that we've done in the past, and cameras aren't just for security, they're also for operations as well. So they might have a family staff, and they might have catering, or and we use the cameras for both. And sometimes I'm like, why are we putting this camera here? Well, it helps me and my staff so we can see what's going on operationally, not just from security. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense, because I would have never put a camera there because security-wise, who cares? But operationally, it makes more sense to use that tech to do that. But privacy-wise, I might have cameras here at my house. And one of the things I've done too is, like, say for example, you talked about live privacy shield where you're masking those pixels and everything in real time. Sometimes they want extreme privacy, but I don't want to turn that I can't turn the camera off, but I just blank the image out and then do a privacy shield across the entire mask, or do a privacy mask and then black out the entire image coming back. And operationally, it comes down to what you learn. So a lot of the properties every year we kind of do a constant audit of what we're doing. Like, what did work this year? Okay, that did not work at all, or this worked really well. Let's improve what we've done with this. So sitting down yearly and having that operational picture really helps, and having that feedback. So from an engineering standpoint, we need that feedback. We need your real-time feedback to problem solve for those solutions.
And what I'll add to that also is that when you're having a party, which was your specific question, it's going to be a little bit of a different requirement than when the house is in its normal state, right? So we do get requests from clients that want to actually turn off certain cameras. Now the security experts are going to say, don't turn off the camera, don't unpower it, what have you. But you can, and there are ways that if you have a system that's architected in a certain way, you can actually cut the power to the camera, and now you're 100% certain that the feed is off. That doesn't work in the White House or for secrets. They won't allow that. They need to know that the camera is on, live, active, and just has privacy shield turned on. But on a residential space that's maybe a little bit less critical, you can do something like that.
Yeah, and one more thing before we get to Amr on that. You have the party going on. You've got the integrated system with Crestron and everything. An alarm happens. Lights are going off. Have all the lights come on in the building. Tell your personnel, like, where are they exiting? Use those lights as a factor, and use your sound system to turn off all the audio that's going on so people get directions to say, hey, there's a fire, let's go. Use the technology that's around you. When we look at today, so with FIFA World Cup and everything, you're always worrying about, like, hey, what technology are we going to use, what technology? There's so much technology that we have already. Let's just use it and integrate it, or make that technology do a little bit more for us. All the homes I've surveyed over the last year, it's like, hey, we have all this cool technology. We've got security alarms. We've got window and door sensors. We've got cameras, all these analytics. And I'm like, great. How do they really work with your lighting, your climate control, and everything else? Oh, we don't think about how to integrate that. Okay, let's use what we have already and do a little more programming versus investing even more money in just new cameras. Let's take what we have and use it better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like access object analytics. If there's regions of the house that people shouldn't be in, that can be detecting you and sending notifications as necessary. Even have line crossing built into our camera, so you can know how many people have gone up the stairs today or during this last hour, last 2 hours. And you see that unusual traffic, you can address it properly, have security, or housekeeping go and check that area out as necessary. So there's a way to leverage the existing technology already. It's just a matter of programming and going through those processes accordingly.
All right, let's. Or Amr, did you have any question first, or should we?
I was just going to comment.
you know, in that specific situation where you want to entertain and you don't want your guests to think they're walking into a fortress as well. Through automation, you could do stuff like optical lasers. When somebody crosses that threshold into your master bedroom or whatever, you can get an alert,
Yep.
you know, on your phone. So it doesn't always have to be a camera.
Yeah.
Right? It can be anything that detects.
Yeah, the cool thing about, like JP said, enabling the live privacy onto a camera, basically that camera doesn't have that visual, you know, scene that's visible to notify, to see what's going on in that scene, but the analytics can still work to let you know that somebody has crossed that threshold. So at that point, you're leveraging your camera as your optical sensor, you know, without the actual view, but you have the built-in smarts from the metadata of the camera that enables the same type of action and activity.
Another choice you have is just securing those thresholds with biometrics. So nobody can get by unless they have your fingerprint, right?
Yep.
Unless they have your facial
Yep.
recognition, you know, or whatever's fed into it.
Yeah, we have a few multi-level properties right here in Georgetown, actually, right across the river, where the elevators, when they have an event, they just hit a preset on the touchscreen and it locks out all the elevators. And now you need biometric to be able to leave anywhere but the event space that's on their first floor, where they typically entertain. You can't get to the bedrooms, you can't get to the basement. You're kind of on that one floor. And JP is 100% right. The technology exists already. So we talk about the future of security. It's here now. All the elements are here, all the ingredients are here, and it's really just a matter of how creative you can get. You know, I always like to say when you're locking down a house, you're leaving the home or the building. Really, why not roll down the shades as well? I mean, people looking into the windows is a security vulnerability. So you should be able to arm an alarm, and securities now start recording 24/7. Your shades go down, your lights turn off. Everything should happen at once. It makes your life easier and it makes the building more secure. So.
Okay, let's move to the next segment here, and this is more about how are we going from the classic, let's say, reactive or retroactive field where something has already happened, right? And you're looking at the feed afterwards to how can we become proactive and maybe make sure that it doesn't even happen at first, that crime or trespassing or whatnot. So Quentin, could you just walk us through quickly some of the Axis's AI capabilities and also, I guess, some of the more normal capabilities where it's like detecting if someone's loitering or so on, to go from that
Absolutely.
action to
Yeah, this was big for me. When I worked for parks for 15 plus years, I had hundreds and hundreds of videos that I collected over the years, gone to court dozens of times. I have been on panels. I've been expert witness for crimes, for murders, and it was my biggest pet peeve to stop providing evidence and let's start deterring the crimes from happening in the first place. Overt cameras are great for that, but it became really evident very fast that people just ignore cameras and they just don't think that they're recording, or they just get forgetful and they forget they're there at all and they commit the crime anyways. So it was a big deal to start working with Axis, because you guys, at the time JP was here at the Experience Center, I would come to visit, and he would blow my mind with everything they could do. You know, integration between, you know, the time and area, loitering, or person rules, vehicle rules. You can make that speaker go off and say something cool, you know, help deter that crime from happening in the first place. Since then, we've come up with, you know, lights, sirens, and other type of speakers for interior and exterior. So it can greatly better impact, you know, the impact for, you know, making these broadcasts over a wider area with not only a single speaker, but with zones of speakers for a region. So these capabilities have greatly improved, not with just people in vehicles, but you can get more specific with loader times, you know, or multiple people. You know, it's fine if there's 1 or 2 people, but if there's 5 people, we want to let them know that, you know, loitering is not, you know, not tolerated in this location, or whatever customer service or security message you want to, you know, program to that system.
So these are these are the capabilities, and this is what the cameras can do.
Yep.
But I would like to get the kind of practical part of this as well, where I'm going to ask both JP and Derek, like, how is this actually being used? Are these features being applied actively in some of your clients?
Yeah, so most of us go to the store. We go into parking lots, and you see all these cameras on trailers and everything. You see these lights. Now they've actually taken IP speakers, and if you actually go to the store at night, they're playing classical music for hours on end, because as Quentin already alluded to, people just ignore cameras. But they're using classical music to constantly play all night, and it's super loud, and they change them, and it's just enough to your ear that it's annoying enough that you can't sleep. So, so if you ever go to a store at night and you see the classic or hear the classical music playing, you know why. And on top of that, you talked about all the AI analytics, the loitering and everything. Use the speaker a lot to deter.
Yeah.
You might play a sound to deter, but then also get the alerts back in the operations center to say, hey, we need to act on this and send somebody out there. And hey, we'll send a patrol car out there and see what's going on. And again, it's about process to do all these things. If you look at all the data centers that are going up right now, it's the same thing as well. We're doing a lot of preemptive alarms. So there's a lot of expensive equipment that's out here. Just the other day, here in Northern Virginia, at a hospital construction site, over, I think it was either $30,000 or $100,000 worth of copper pipe was just stolen. If you drive past that facility, the fencing's broken. It just fell down because of the wind. And there's no perimeter alarms, there's no prevention or anything. Imagine if they had something to help prevent that. Insurance would be a lot happier, that's for sure. But let's try to prevent those things from happening. That's a huge loss, not just on the project, but of items.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so we've been laying that foundation for that for a while. We've been installing the Axis speaker that can communicate to the network. Cameras have not yet come up with all the sequences yet of what to do. And specifically in a residential application, we're trying to figure out what are those alerts, at what time should you start actually making it be proactive. You don't want every time someone's walking the dog past your property, it's yelling at them saying, like, we're watching you. But maybe it's after midnight, or maybe it's after 12 o'clock, or maybe there's some curfew time in the community where it makes sense to set that. So we're still kind of figuring out what the sequence of operations is, but we're laying the foundation, making sure that moving forward, if we're putting in a camera system or surveillance system, or at least talking to the client about, hey, pre-wire for or just install this beacon, this light beacon, or this speaker, so that we can have this proactive feature in the future. So it's all about laying that foundation down and programming it later on.
Okay. And so this is a question that I believe many people have when they hear that you're combining AI capabilities with surveillance cameras. Now you have AIs watching over you. So are there any security concerns, or what would you say to the people that are worried about that kind of technology coming up? This is just anyone wants to answer.
Yeah, so there are different regulatory bodies, both in the States and in Europe, that are really concerned about safety and privacy. So Axis is subject to those regulatory standards, and we make it best practice to make sure that we fully comply with those standards. So that's why, as fast as AI can go, we make sure that we are regulatory compliant first before we release anything to market. We're kind of like, I guess, Apple in that respect. We want to make sure that the solution is fully baked and fully compliant before it goes to market. So we're very respectful of those processes and procedures regarding regulation. So I think we're very safe in that respect. But yeah, AI in general can be scary, but it can be very useful too. I just got, I don't know why I didn't get, well, the technology is just getting mature enough, but I got a robot lawnmower this spring. And I tell you, I have not cut my grass yet this year. I love this thing.
Swedish invention, by the way.
Yeah. When I was in Sweden a couple years ago, they had I went to a golf range, and they had a robot robot collecting the golf balls on the range.
Oh, yeah.
It was super cool. Yeah, it was the first place I saw it, and then cutting grass eventually, yeah. But my robot cuts my grass for me day and night, because it not only has cameras, but it has a LiDAR sensor on it, so it can cut at night. Yeah. It's the coolest thing. But I was walking in my yard over the long weekend, and I was like, and I noticed a lot of anthills. Like, gosh, I wish I would have, got some product to put on my lawn, to keep the ants from, populating my grass areas. It's like, wow, that'd be so cool, because they're doing it with refrigerators already. The refrigerators can, have a camera in the refrigerator, and you're low on milk. It can put the, milk in your grocery cart from Amazon or Walmart or wherever you shop. So it'd be so cool to integrate that with, whatever services you use. Like I have an Amazon Prime account, so it could put the, stuff for ants in my cart and say, hey, do you want to buy it? So stuff like that's going to be coming from all kinds of different directions. From different manufacturers.
I highly recommend the robotic lawnmowers.
I
was
do.
Actually, even my first little side hustle as a kid was to repair robotic lawnmowers in my hometown.
Wow, that's super cool.
But see, I would use their lawnmower.
Yeah.
If somebody's crossing my line or I'm getting alarms,
Yes.
get that lawnmower to turn, send that lawnmower on.
I can
mean,
literally dial in or, remote in using my app and see my lawn being cut by my
I would use
lawnmower. And you can control it too.
But I would use that from the security side.
Exactly.
Oh,
Just,
100%.
yeah,
It's happening already. I mean,
Bring that
there's-
video into your VMS. Exactly.
It's in fact, we're working on a project right now that Nelson can talk about. That's a drone will deploy if something happens on the property. A drone will actually deploy and follow somebody, but it's going to be in a few years. It's going to be robots that just will deploy on the property and go find out what's happening. So.
We already have.
Does the drone live on the roof of the house and when actuated? start taking
It could, or in a tree, anywhere we can get power to, or solar power to. Yeah, just needs to charge up in a docking station and communicate. So.
So that was that for that segment. Do you have any other questions on the retroactive to proactive or AI capabilities? Let's move on. So one of the other issues that we see a lot, especially in the residential space, is using consumer grade products for properties that you really want to protect versus using commercial grade products such as or enterprise grade products such as Axis. So I just want to kind of touch that a little bit. So we'll start with a question for you, JP. So from a consulting standpoint, what are the top vulnerabilities, you'd say, in the consumer grade tech? So let's say the Ring doorbell or Nest or similar to that, that would never pass the test compared to Axis or 2M.
We talked a lot about it earlier. It's about cyber. When we look at cyber vulnerabilities, when we look at residences, big commercial properties and everything, there's other compliances that you run into, like especially in the commercial space with credit card transactions and everything, of PCI, it just goes on and on now. Every time, for example, like in the Axis world, they have a website called trust.axis.com. You can actually go on the website and look at all of their regulatory things to include GDPR and so forth. In my side of the house, we look for that. So when we look with companies we're partnering with, we're looking to see that they have the trust validation in the marketplace, not just by us, but by third-party auditors. And we also look at too, it's support. Who can we get for technical support? Who are the people that are actually using this technology? We've always called the Axis Tech Support, even when I was an integrator at Axis, or even working with our partners hand in hand, because when you look at an integrated solution set, it's not just about one vendor, because they can't do everything. I love you.
Yeah.
But Axis can't do everything. But looking at the partners we're working with for that support as well. So it's a holistic approach in the solution systems. What are the biggest reasons why we partnered with Crestron back in the day and still do?
Well, they were one of the most secure vendors, and they had the best technology and best engineers, and
Exactly.
And they were made in the U.S. That was one aspect of it. But they were a market leader.
Yep.
They're a market leader. And most market leaders are going to follow the rules. So.
Yep. And when you look at market leaders, those are the people you want to partner with because they're going to try to get ahead of all these things.
I also want to note that not every camera company out there is following these regulatory things. So like 80% of the cameras that are sold out there are not following it simply because of price. They have to charge a lower price. They don't have time for all these following all the rules, and so that's why you're going to get lower cost items, and it's just not as secure.
I think one big thing to highlight is with any of the consumer grade products that I talk to my clients about every single day, is that anybody with your Wi-Fi network password can go in and look at that. That's what it comes down to. It's that easy.
Yeah, and the other thing we talked about too, we talked about chipset, we talked about ARPEC. Do you remember that?
Yep.
We'll put you on the spot again, Derek. It's so much fun. But also too, as you go around this experience center and you start looking at what we call enabling technologies. We talk a lot about AI, but you have to have good image quality to get those analytics back. So Axis Real-Time Picture Encoder chip, ARTPAC, that we've talked about, it's on 9 now.
Generation 9.
Generation 9.
And going.
They have a lot of enabling technologies to get color and low light. For analytics, you must have color and low light. You can do it in black and white, you'll see people and things, but it's not about, it's great, I'm a person. What color am I wearing? Am I wearing a white shirt, blue pants, gray pants as I look over here, things like that. You need that color and low light to get those analytics to work properly. So think about that as you go through the Experience Center. Optimize IR. Have you ever looked at an image at night and it's got this black and white image and it's blown out and you can't see anything? Have you ever seen those videos online or we look at afterwards and it's blown out? It's not that great. There's also two called pixel density. So we always hear about 2 megapixel, 5 megapixel, 8 megapixel, 4K cameras, 1080p. We hear that a lot in our world. Think about pixel density. When you're getting all those pixels back to an image sensor, to image sensor, a lot of image sensors are like really small, so they can't see pixel density. Have you ever looked at like, wow, that Ring camera on the video on news isn't great? Well, it's about pixel density, pixel quality, and image sensing as well. Axis has done a lot of that, so they take those cameras out in the field. They don't just do a product test in a lab. When they say they've done those videos and everything, you see those videos live, those cameras are out there for 30 to 100 days, and they're still out there. If you ever go to the Swedish labs, you'll actually see PTZ cameras still running from 50 years ago. They're still testing because they want to see when that motor is actually going to die. So think about it's beyond just, hey, we got a camera up on my door, it's great, it's going to work simply. Think about the holistic approach of how it integrates with other systems, but also too, like what's the chip and other technologies behind it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we ensure software compatibility for 10 years for our solutions. So up to year 10, we're developing, cybersecurity firmware and even some feature set upgrades for those older cameras. So rest assured, you have a customer that you installed a PTZ4 today, you're going to get cybersecurity for that device for almost 10 more years. So it's not going to be obsolete at all.
So do you have any questions? And like one of the things that obviously Axis cameras aren't the cheapest ones out there that you can buy, right?
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
I did think about something.
Yeah.
These scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we don't know. So we're considering purchasing some property that is far away.
Yeah.
Like Southern Virginia, right? But we're here, right? We're in Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, right? And securing that property, right? Just kind of thinking about everything y'all are talking about, like the ways. It's not just like the detecting, but
Be
how do you
proactive.
deploy?
yeah.
Right? When you see something that's gone wrong or shouldn't be, like, how do you connect with the right folks to deploy somebody, be it call the police or whatever that is?
Yeah, so it's about process and your operation. So to your goal, if you want that operation, does it go to a monitoring center to look at? Especially in Southern Virginia, when you look at properties, there's a couple things on that. One is think about bandwidth consumption of those cameras because it has to go over Starlink or cellular because it's out in the field. Axis has a technology called Zipstream to actually constrain that bandwidth. If you're looking at an entire scene itself, if there's no reason to send that bandwidth back, let's not do it. It's a really cool thing. And you don't lose image quality. That's really cool to see, especially on those higher megapixel cameras, the 4Ks and things like that. You don't lose that image quality. So that's part one. Then you got to traverse that data securely, which can be done. We do it all the time in this city and all the cities around the United States all the time. And then you also have to get that data back to a monitoring center so that they can actually act on that as well. Because you don't want to get the phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning and call somebody. So it's about process. So work with the integration firms, work with Derek, work with Amr, work with the teams to say, hey, this is what we want to do. How do we get there? How does this look? And then you'll have your process in place. It's a lot about planning what you're trying to do. And you're going to evolve that process as you go.
We had a client recently that recently in the past year that went away on a vacation. We had just installed cameras, and they saw someone try to break into their car in their own driveway, and they literally got an alert on their app, opened up their app, and watched it all happen. And now the next evolution of that is now we're installing speakers, two-way communication, so that they can actually, the next time that happens, they can talk to that perpetrator and say, hey, I see you, I'm going to call the police if you don't leave right away. It was not like a nefarious person, it was probably some high school kid or some low-level criminal.
Yep.
That would have scared them away immediately. Just hearing a voice, it's like, I'm watching you, and the cops are coming. So process and protocol is definitely an important thing in commercial and high-end residential, but even in a standard residence, you can have that ability to do that.
So I had one final question here in the consumer versus commercial grade, because obviously Axis, they aren't the cheapest cameras out there in the market. You could probably get 5 to 10 cameras made in China for the same price of one Axis camera, right? So how do you educate, I guess, the market or the end consumer, and basically showing them that the total cost of failure is bigger than the upfront investment that it is to purchase the cameras? How do you communicate that to end users?
I think for our partnerships with folks like Derek and Casaplex, our other integrators, our marketing teams, we have a better marketing process around social media these days with Axis. We're in our experience centers as well. Every year we're opening up another 1 or 2 experience centers around the world. We just opened up Detroit in the Mid-Atlantic region, another one for us over here in the Mid-Atlantic. So we have the Axis Experience Vehicle. We're adding another one, Axis Experience Vehicle, to the U.S. this year as well. So that's under construction pretty soon. So we're adding more facilities, adding more partnerships, having more events like this in our spaces. These spaces, we want to make it known that they're open to our integrators and our partners and end users to use it and utilize as much as you can. We want to continue these dialogues and these meetings and these special events. They're really helpful for getting the word out. Yep.
Anyone have anything to add?
Well, when I talk to clients about it, Ring camera always comes up, and I always talk to them about how there's a $25 device you can buy online. It's a Wi-Fi jammer that as soon as you press that button, the Ring cameras go down because they use Wi-Fi. So anytime those cameras are using Wi-Fi, you're susceptible to a pretty low-level criminal being able to completely debilitate your security. So that usually will educate a consumer enough that they don't want to go that direction. I also talk about the Mariah attacks, which is your homework here to look up what those are, because it actually happened again recently. I think in the past 2 years it happened again. So we didn't learn a lesson. So it's really just informing them about these types of cybersecurity attacks, and usually if it's an educated client, it's a better client for us. So.
Yep.
Does that apply also to the hardwired Ring cameras as well?
Well, so the hardwired Ring cameras, as far as I know, they're hardwiring the power.
But they use a CAT cable, like the Cat 6.
For power, though.
Yeah.
They're only
Yeah.
using it for power, so
So it's still using-
it's still using Wi-Fi to communicate back.
A lot.
Maybe we should get one of those jammers and take it to Ms. Wick's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest joke I always use is you've got to run power anyways. That 120 volt power is pretty expensive to run with that electrician, which is great. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it. Please do it. But you can run a CAT cable pretty quickly, get it to where you need. It's got your power and data going all across it, and it goes back to an Ethernet switch. It's about the plumbing. You've already got a lot of plumbing in these houses already that has all that. Just use it. Use your infrastructure.
Okay. All right, so now over to the final segment here, and Derek, you started touching on this really on the first presentation about drones, and as he said, we were supposed to have another person on the panel that would be kind of the expert in the space here about drones. So, to the best of your knowledge, you can maybe answer some of those questions. So, airspace is often the, let's say, forgotten perimeter. You have your cameras all over the property, but what's going on, above ground? So, how are drones being used today by certain bad actors, let's say spying on people or so on?
Yeah.
And why would the standard, let's say, ground security not, be enough to cover that?
So there's a couple different ways. It used to be just celebrities were more susceptible to the drones because you got the paparazzi that wants to see them. So you had a lot of high net worth individuals that would get drones flying past their house, in front of their windows, capturing video of them, and then selling that video or images. Nowadays, there are criminals that are using it to kind of stake out a house. So they can fly those drones at a pretty high airspace, and they can see what's going on when you're leaving the house. They can even monitor activity over multiple days by just doing tours at the right times. So some criminals are using it that way. They're using it to stake out a property and figure out when people are leaving, what your habits are, and then they're planning then to break in and do something. So that's what, and also if you're about to commit a crime, you want to maybe have a drone go in initially and just surveil and make sure that it's safe to commit the crime, right? So that is happening today, and we actually have a number of clients that have called us and told us that that's how they found out things were happening, where after the crime occurred, the criminals were actually caught by the police, and there were drones that they were using in that crime.
So how could you then use, I guess, drones to counter that?
Well, that's a really actually a sensitive topic, because currently in the U.S. you are not allowed to actually do anything to, in a residential space.
Don't do it. Even our space, we try not to do it. There's too much risk.
There's a lot of risk in it.
So much risk.
So the best thing you can do for now is just monitor and know that they're present, and then they're, in the future, maybe there's ways to take down drones and what have you that will be allowed.
So what's the restriction on residential? What's the restriction?
Well, actually, in most residential areas, you can't even fly drones unless they're registered and it's being funded by the
Is
company.
DC especially?
Especially DC.
Yeah.
And takedowns, forget it, because you never know. It could be a government drone. It could be a military drone. You can't do anything like that.
So I can't use my drone to take down another drone.
I don't want to hear about it, but you can do
don't
whatever you
wanna-
want.
You don't want to hear about it, but it could happen.
You could use
Yeah.
the drone to surveil another drone.
Right.
You could, you could surveil it.
Yeah.
I mean, plenty of that is being used in the military and in part of the new modern warfare. So who knows if that comes
What's
to
the risk you mentioned?
Think about the people underneath the drone.
Oh yeah, like the liability of that
The
drone
liability,
crashing and
the
hurting
liability
somebody.
of that drone crashing is
Yeah.
huge.
But also FAA treats that as aircraft.
Yes.
So there's no distinction between an unmanned drone and a
Yeah.
Cessna. So in terms of your liability taking something down, the FAA is.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe what could be allowed eventually is you're not going to intercept with whatever is going on. It's more like you're sending out a drone that maybe has a little speaker on board. It says like, hey, we know where you are. Like, get off the property or whatever you're doing. Do it. Right?
But with some of the systems that we have, even with Axis systems, we have I/O modules, or things are happening. Maybe that camera sees that drone and it says I/O sensor. We're going to turn on your TV. We're going to turn on these lights. Make it look like your house is inhabited. You're not away on vacation. You can have those things programmed already. And I know a lot of us do already. My kitchen light comes on at a certain time and randomizes, turns on and off. And you can, of course, you can put your TVs on timers. And so there's ways to make your house seem more occupied. So like it's not being, you're on a vacation for 2 weeks. It doesn't look like you're on vacation for 2 weeks necessarily.
And go back to what we talked about earlier. Drone detected.
Yep.
All the lights on the outside of a perimeter come on.
Yep.
They're going to think somebody's home. Things like that. Use the tools you already have at your disposal to be successful. You've invested all that. You've invested a lot of that. Use what you have to be successful.
Exactly.
Who is the largest maker of drones? I know the Israeli company Elbite Systems is one of the leaders. How about in the U.S.? Who's the
DJI.
DJI.
Yep.
But it's Chinese.
It's Chinese. Yeah.
Chinese.
How about the U.S.? Any of the big defense contractors make
Skydio. Skydio is the biggest one I see all the time. And again, it's about value proposition. You touched on it earlier about the value proposition where they have the resources to work in the field to train and pilot. I mean, it's the biggest growing segment in the security space today, right now. When we were in, I was lucky enough to be in Dubai at Intersect in January. you had cameras and detection technologies, but the biggest topic was drones, because it's easy to deploy. It's quick. There's infrastructure, but it's all either wireless or tethered infrastructure for drones. It's the quickest thing. That is the biggest segment that's growing in the security space I see today.
The police are using them all over the place. So they're flying in the sky now over Silver Spring, Gaithersburg.
Yeah. Amazon uses it to deliver boxes.
Adam?
Yep.
Any questions?
Yeah, I don't know if Quentin touched on this, but it's kind of under wraps. It's coming down the pipeline with Axis in terms of our roadmap. But something similar to this is going to be used to help detect drones. What you're looking at here is radar technology mixed with a hand-tilt zoom camera device, so that the radar can detect things from a much further distance than a camera can, and can give the coordinates of that moving object to the PTC to say, follow this thing. In the context of drones, that will be technology that you see start coming out.
So the newest version is going to be inverted, where the radar is on the bottom, and there'll be a Q6225 camera on top of the radar, so you'll have better coverage of the sky area, just like we have with our plane tracking camera on our rooftop right now. So we'll have better capabilities to integrate with drone detection companies in the future. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's kind of the most part of the drone space. Would be very nice to have Matteo here as well to kind of elaborate further, but
Next event.
Busy in Japan, so. I think that's all we had to cover for this panel discussion. We're going to open up for a small Q&A. I mean, we're also going to do the tour now, so you can ask your questions and
Excellent.
and whatever you might have. So, yeah, if you have any questions right now, feel free to ask them, or we can just continue with the little tour here.
I just want to add that adding cameras doesn't always have to be about security. I think through the tour you'll also see that. Like JP and I have deployed Eagle Cam before. And watching somebody's eagle nest on their property.
I have.
It doesn't always have to be about security.
The eagle has.
It can be about good stuff.
The eagle has literally landed inside this space before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I did have two final things. One is, so we have the surveillance cameras, we have access control, deterrence, drone detection, all these different systems. How do you actually bring all this together to a single pane of glass? Because you can't have 5 different people, or let's say AIs or systems that are watching over all this at once. So how do you?
Well, you could try to do it with 5 different people,
Yeah.
and it's very complicated and what have you. Or you can find a systems integrator like Casaplex that can put it all together on one piece of paper first, design it, install it, and make it all work on a single pane of glass. So it really comes down to choosing the right integrator that has an understanding and a passion for all the systems and how they all communicate with each other.
Yeah.
You have the right integrator and the right manufacturer. Axis Communications, we manufacture all these devices, and we do our best to put them in the single pane of glass. Access control, audio, video, speakers, door intercoms. It's a whole ecosystem that we built into our platform. But we're also a very open platform. We all of our solutions work in the world-leading VMSs like Genetec and Milestone, our partners. So we have a wide variety of selections that we can go with between our hardware and software in our ecosystem or with our partners.
All right. So now to our little final question, which is, what practical advice can we give here to both homeowners, but also professionals or facility managers for different buildings? Like, what are the next steps here? So if you were to give the person basically a list, like almost a checklist, like this is what I'd suggest you do with your surveillance system to, be more protected, what would you say to that person?
I would say get a professional security assessment first, and map out a plan and a roadmap and find out what your budget is.
Professional security
before you start
assessment.
talking
One
to
more
anybody
cute
about
tip. Include your significant other in that conversation. Many times of the day, and I say this honestly, there's 2 different mindsets and goals. Make sure that significant other is part, or the family, what have you, is part of that conversation so the goals are aligned. Too many times technology will go in and somebody's not aware and it creates some friction and some goals change. So having those discussions early, working together on that is huge to make sure everybody's under the same, playing field. AV world, IT world, security world, all of it, yes. That touchscreen, if that touchscreen doesn't turn on that TV, we know that phone call's coming.
Technology moves very fast. These experience centers that we have located around the world and in our very beautiful cities, Axis does a great job of putting these places where people can reach them. So I encourage our integrators to continue bringing your customers here and work with us to further develop these relationships so we can be successful not just for day one but into the future. Yep.
Thank you very much. It was great listening to you and to this discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.